All right. Peace and blessings of Sappho, the Honorable One, the Success Scholar, Akish Kaur. Me here. Thank you for tuning in, listening in. I want to do a piece. I want to talk about the film, The Founder. The film, The Founder. So I don't know if anybody is going to see that. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm watching every single movie, but when certain movies come out, uh, it's pertinent that those of us that are entrepreneurs that have a vision for ourselves in terms of business or in life or uh, just really understanding how the dynamics of history have evolved. And several key things I learned: how McDonald's feeds 1% of the entire planet every day. That was pretty significant to know. And there's certainly other facts. They one of the biggest landowners in the world as well. But from seeing the film, it was informative on one in many different aspects, I'll say. But one thing that I came away with it was to understand and protect your intellectual property. Without spoiling it, I'll say that Ray Kroc allegedly he wasn't the original founder of McDonald's. I knew part of the story from hearing from Kiyosaki and different network marketers about his relationship to real estate, and he was in the real estate business, but I didn't know how that actually came about, how that understanding came about. Okay. Um, yeah, so he was a salesperson selling machines. Actually, let me just say for the record, he actually, before that, he sold a lot of different things. He was a salesman, always, trying to get to the what's popping, what's hot, and trying to, just live an entrepreneur life. And he was living a decent life, but he wanted more and always kept an open mind to progress and transition and what's the term, innovation. Now, with that being said, going back to my original statement that we have to always realize that although we may do business with people, not everyone is going to deal ethically. Now, according to this film, the it was alleged or it appeared that the original founders, the McDonald's brothers, actually one was named Mac and one was named Donald or something to that effect, last name Mac or something, can't recall, but they had a little store out in San Bernardino, California. So they wanted to get some milkshakes from his milkshake machine. Oh God, I tell the whole movie. But he actually drove all the way there because he was like, wow, they sounded real busy. They sound like a busy restaurant. So he drove from St. Louis all the way to California to get these to sell the milkshake machines, and then to well, no, not then, but he sold the machines and he saw the operation, and then they invited him in, like, oh, come on in, buddy, come on in, look at what we have, look at how we do it. This is how we do. This is how we do everything. So his mind was like going off. He started thinking like, man, this could be like all over the country. I've seen different systems, uh, different establishments, and they can't do what McDonald's do with the shortest amount of time and the quality of food. So he saw that system, that institutional way of getting things done real fast for people. So, and eventually, I mean, he may not necessarily have started out as a need to actually steal their idea, but he, I guess, had to reinvent it first through getting other people on board, started franchising it more, and then he connected to smarter people. And that's what I realized. That's what happens when you travel, for instance. That's what happens when you go to areas and places in the country and in the world that are more progressive. And I learned this. I learned some things about like that when I went to places like Jackson, Mississippi, which is a little behind on some aspects of existence, and I've learned that from as well as Baltimore, where you have a smaller market, 630 something thousand people, and uh, and there may be certain limitations to your established brand with that. So, with that being said, on the other end of that, the McDonald's brothers did not totally see the big picture, and Ray Kroc got upset and was like, "Look, I mean, we got to do this to make money," and they were kind of stuck in a time zone. So that happens kind of regularly. When you're dealing with people that may not necessarily be well versed or well traveled, they looking at one thing, but you have all this combined experience, and he was reading books, he was actually listening, and I think that wasn't the in the film. It was something about thinking big, but that was Norman Vincent Peale. Wait a minute, if I'm not mistaken, but Schwartz. There's another one called The Magic of Thinking Big, but it had a different name, and I was like, I got confused because I was like, let me make sure, because I just read this, the power of thinking big, I believe, is the name of it. But he was listening to it. He broke out a what do they call the big old records and put the record on with the needles. Y'all remember that? Some of the young people probably like, what the hell is he talking about? But he was listening to those like in his sleep. He was, would put it on and lay down. So he was in that mindset, that Napoleon Hill type of mindset, to think big. So what I wanted to say again, and I keep, but the key point is to protect your assets, protect your intellectual property, and that happened to me before. And again, and I'm a little torn because again, you want to be able to share knowledge with everybody. You want to, but I realized two things. Sometimes people may not necessarily value what you're saying and who you are until you begin to put some value on yourself, put some value on your time and on your affiliations with other individuals, so that you can begin to uh, protect your interests. And that happened to me some years ago with, a company in Philadelphia who shall remain nameless, but, I shared some key insightful information because I've been in this entrepreneurial space for some time, and they've been mostly corporate, just some rich kids, and, they had good jobs, high paying, uh, high paid employees or high paid self employed, but they had no business, marketing, sales uh, understanding. And me, knowing who I know and what I know, I just shared some information about people in Atlanta. And they took my information and went and talked to the people and didn't even like tell me. So that let me know that this could have been worth tens of millions if both of these people weren't so greedy. You got some greedy Negroes out here. If they weren't so greedy and so selfish and couldn't even agree on the dynamics and the terms themselves. Uh, and this is where I learned that sometimes some people just want to suck all of your money and not totally be for the cause. Sometimes you got to be for the cause first, and then realize that you're going to balance this thing out with people and bringing people up with you. And that's my secret to success. That I'm certainly connected and helping dozens and tens of thousands of people. But let me get back to the film. It was one other thing I wanted to make, but I don't know how the film did, but I know that there's some grief going on with it about there's another film coming out called Gold, so there's a lawsuit saying that the film got released at a particular time, and it was released within a certain amount of time of this other film, so people are upset with that. The film people, so there's a lawsuit with that. But let me just, it happens. The story is far more okay. Let me just read this quick analysis somebody gave it. Paints director John Lee Hancock's new biopic. The founder paints an intricate portrait of McDonald's beginnings, telling a tale of a ruthless businessman quest for power and money. So I knew it wasn't that simplistic, and that's why I was like, all right, yeah. They put it like he was cutthroat, like he just he was a corporate raider or was it a hostile takeover or something. But as it happens with any biopic, the story is far more complex than a 90-minute blockbuster could cover. McDonald's under Ray Kroc, in fact, began fundamentally reshaping our food system and food culture to the detriment of the health of millions of people on the planet. When lights come up in the theaters around the country over the next few weeks, audience should know that Kroc's influence, as shown in the film, is only the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Now, this is somebody's opinion. Exploiting children, driving diet-related disease. The founders, for starters, barely mentions how Kroc used marketing to children to help turn McDonald's from a small burger stand in Southern California into a global behemoth. That's interesting. Targeting children. In the film, Maya Rosenbaum, one of the first, that's interesting, one of the first McDonald's franchises on the hands out lollipop to kids. This is a brief scene that foreshadows the creation of the most famous clown in the world. And now you know that, I don't know if people know that they got the Ronald McDonald from a black man. But let me just mention that. The most famous Ronald McDonald and the corporate development of a full-scale strategy designed to turn little children into lifelong customers. That's deep. That's deep. As Ray Kroc himself reported, if you have $1 to spend on marketing, spend it on kids because they bring mom and dad. Wow. That's deep. That's interesting. And you know what's interesting about that? I just revised my strategy in terms of, at one time I was doing some 33 to 53, and I dropped it now to 25 to 45. So, not to say that I'm going to not talk to young people, but I mean older people, but I just have to realize that I've hit the market, the plateau of advertising, and I've done that through over the years steadily here. So it's just like from this point forward, I'm like, this is a different ball game. This is a different ball game for me now. So, wow. So Ray Kroc reported in the decades that followed, the corporations kid-targeted marketing reshaped the fast food industry and had a devastating impact on children's health, according to our food policy organization, Corporate Accountability. Actually, I don't know if I should say it, but yeah, I'm a contributor to Corporate Accountability and other groups. And I know that Corporate Accountability might, if you see this, yeah, I support you and what you've done. It's interesting. The American Academy for Pediatrics, for example, recommended a national policy prohibiting junk food marketing to kids. Uh, from Ronald McDonald and Happy Meals to toy giveaways, McTeacher's Night, this fast food giant has continued to develop new and what was considered insidious ways to target children. For years, it had deployed its clown mascot nearly everywhere that kids are: schools, sporting events, and even children's hospitals. The result: rates of diabetes, diet-related disease like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, skyrocket. Today, a staggering 1 in 3 people born in a year will develop type 2 diabetes. I haven't eaten at McDonald's in, oh my God, 20 years, so I guess I'm doing something well. I don't even want a salad out of there. Though the founder reveals Kroc's transformation of McDonald's brothers burger chain, it falls short of showing viewers Kroc's and McDonald's wider impact on our food system. In fact, no single entity has done more to shape today's food supply than this company. And this is why I'm doing this, because I realize that this is very big. For example, when McDonald's began, it sourced potatoes from 175 local farms for its fries. Kroc had decided early on to work with a handful of potato suppliers that relied heavily on chemical pesticides and fertilizer. There was a part in there that he went from real milk, and that might be a part of it, to dairy. He went from dairy for the milkshakes to like a powdery type of milkshakes, and he cut costs by doing that. I guess it tastes the same, but and that one of the outcome of the decision was that today one of McDonald's primary potato suppliers is so ambiguous that it supplies potatoes for much of the fast food industry and is one of the largest corporations in America. McDonald's unparalleled demand for cheap, uniform agricultural products has helped shrink the biodiversity of our crops-driven consolidation of food corporations and increase the use of toxic pesticides and finally reshaped our food system. So you don't hear much about these things, but I wanted to bring that. But on the other end of that, there was certainly some business type of things that I think are good. For instance, and sometimes people wonder why I don't show up at certain things anymore. I know some people uh, think I'm being bourgeoisie or whatever, but there was a scene in the film where Ray Kroc had told his wife that they weren't going to go to these social, some kind of club, looked like a little, kind of like a golf place where all the friends play golf. He said that they were kind of, I can't recall if he said I don't think he said bourgeoisie, but they, perpetrators in a sense. They wannabes, and they laughed at his vision for McDonald's, and they laughed, because they knew that he had done things before. He'd done several different, and throughout the film, he would say, "I sold that. I sold this." I remember, and even at the dinner with the people as he was sharing about McDonald's, a few of the people were like, "Yeah, is this different than when you were selling A, B, or C widget or something?" He was selling pianos and some other machine for restaurants at one time. So that let me realize that sometimes I'm on the right track, because again, you got a lot of perpetrators out here perpetrating like they are successful, hanging out, popping, turning, whatever the hell it's called, turning up, tossing up. I don't, whatever they consider as silly stuff. But and going to these different cocktail sips, hanging around, just looking like you Greek or something, like you got all kind of luxury time to sit around and intellectualize instead of getting busy and working, huh? And so that's going to be the difference between me and the rest of these individuals out here. But I'm a holistic brother, so know that I have to support holistic entities and operations. So I say, if you want to go see it, definitely check it out. Take good notes. I may see it again. I think, certainly. I mean, when it comes out, I'm not going to a movie again to see it, but I think that there was some good nuggets in there for entrepreneurs to really understand, what you have to, the mindset that you have to be in. That's what I'm trying to say out of this. And you don't necessarily have to cut people off and be a cutthroat and make people that you built your legacy off of, make them go broke, and don't pay them, don't acknowledge them. And so I felt like if that was me, I would have to give something to them McDonald's people. Like I would have to take care of them. It's like take care of their families or something. I mean, you built a multi-billion-dollar, I mean, hundreds of millions, hundreds of billions of dollars industry, and the original inhabitants only got $1 million from the I guess the deal that they had, and they didn't get any royalties. But it said something towards the end that they did a handshake deal, and they should have got like up to $100 million. So that's all I have to say about that. So definitely like all of my stuff. Tune in each and every Monday on eLife Media, the Success Scholar Hakia Shukwami. I'm in the Baltimore area as well as in Prince George's County, but you can get my book from successscholarhaki.com. Working on some other books as well. I'm looking for promoters and sponsors as well. Promoters in the Baltimore area, advertisers, those that are ready to grow to another level. Work with me. Connect to the Success Scholar. My number is 410-209-9687. Again, 410-209-9687, or email me at hakiammi@gmail.com. So that's all I have. Holler to Success Scholar.